Graves had spent the last 10 years chasing the past. Once a promising archaeologist, he had gambled away his reputation, selling looted artifacts to private collectors instead of preserving history. Broke and desperate, he arrived in Nigeria, following a whisper of a legend, the existence of a hidden market in Oyo, a place where the dead and the living traded under the cover of night. It was said that the night market appeared only between dusk and dawn, hidden beneath the ruins of an ancient city. No one knew exactly where or how to enter, but those who found it never returned the same. Some returned wealthy beyond imagination. Others were never seen again. Ethan didn't believe in ghost stories, but he believed in rare artifacts and desperate buyers. If the market existed, there would be treasures, and if there were treasures, there would be money. After weeks of bribing locals and chasing rumors, he finally found someone who claimed to know the way. Abeni, a historian with wary eyes and an air of quiet authority, met him in a dimly lit bar. "You don't belong in that place," she warned. "It does not welcome outsiders." "I just need to see it," Ethan insisted. "One night." Abeni studied him for a long moment. Then she scribbled an address on a napkin. "If you value your life, leave before sunrise." That night, Ethan followed her instructions, making his way to the outskirts of the city. At the ruins of an old shrine, he found a narrow, unmarked passage leading underground. It was suffocatingly dark. He nearly turned back until he saw the flickering lights below. The market was real. It stretched beneath the city like an ancient bazaar, lit by lanterns that burned with blue fire. The air smelled of spices and something else, something old, something wrong. The traders wore elaborate masks, their faces hidden beneath wood and gold. Strange artifacts lined the stalls. Bronze statues that whispered in forgotten tongues, woven fabrics that shimmered as if alive, relics untouched by time. Ethan moved through the market in awe, his greed sharpening with every step. Then he saw it. A small, intricately carved hourglass sat on a wooden pedestal. The sand inside glowed faintly, falling grain by grain, unnaturally slow. "How much?" he asked. The merchant behind the stall was veiled from head to toe. Her voice was a whisper, layered with echoes. "It is not bought with money." His body then hesitated. "Then what?" She placed a hand on the hourglass. "Time. Return what you have taken before the last grain falls, or the market will take you instead." He scoffed. Just another trick to keep the superstitious in check. He took the hourglass, slipping a wad of cash onto the table, and walked away. The moment he stepped out of the market, the world felt different. At first it was subtle. The air was heavier. His footsteps seemed softer. Then, stranger things began to happen. Shadows stretched where they shouldn't. Reflections in windows lingered a moment too long. People he spoke to forgot his name seconds after he introduced himself. By the time he reached his hotel, the first true horror, his own reflection did not move. Panicked, he turned to his phone, only to find that no messages, no calls, no proof of his existence remained. His own passport bore a stranger's name. It was as if the world itself was beginning to erase him. The sand in the hourglass was still falling. Frantic, Ethan searched for Abeni. She listened in silence as he told her what had happened. "You stole time that was not yours," she said grimly. "The market is taking it back." "Then I'll return it," he gasped. "I'll put it back." Abeni shook her head. "You don't understand. The night market does not deal in refunds. It only trades." Ethan felt cold dread creep over him. "Then what can I offer?" Abeni hesitated. Then she whispered, "Another life." Horrified, he realized what she meant. If he wanted to escape, someone else had to take. He felt lighter, his memories fading like ink in water. He had minutes left, maybe less. There was one final option. He could return to the night market and beg for a new trade. But what would they ask of him? His name? His soul? His future? As the last grains of sand fell, Ethan made his choice. He ran, back through the ruins, back into the underground tunnels, back into the waiting shadows of the market. But he was too late. The moment the sand stopped, the market shifted, the lanterns dimmed, the masked traders turned toward him in eerie unison. A hand gripped his shoulder. The collector stood before him, his eyes endless voids. "Debt is paid," he intoned. Ethan tried to scream, but no sound came. His voice was gone. His body was no longer his own. The next morning, the night market vanished, and in a distant corner of a forgotten world, a new merchant stood behind a stall, veiled in silence, selling an old, glowing hourglass to the next unlucky.